We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars Wrestling Show, episode 423. I'm your man behind the microphone and your current reigning, defending Scholars Wrestling Party champion. I am Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I am doing quite well this evening. I have been enjoying a great week of professional wrestling television, from premium live events to weekly television. I enjoyed Raw, I enjoyed Dynamite, and I'm looking forward to post-draft SmackDown. Hopefully I'll get that perfect week. Oh yeah, and Rampage too. Yeah, Rampage is there too.
Definitely. Also joining us this week, he is the Scholars of Wrestling World Champion himself and an undisputed scholar in his own right. He is Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, what's up with you?
Doing pretty well after an impressive week of wrestling, as Scholar Tarek said. Would be doing a whole lot better if I got that vaunted perfect card at Backlash. Unfortunately, someone else on this panel took it away from me.
Took it away from us, man. We were on our way to taking over Backlash.
Personally, I blame Matt Riddle, but hey. But yes, we've been alluding to it long enough. He got a perfect card at Backlash, and he's mighty proud of it. He is our friend and yours. He is Scholar Jeremy. Scholar Jeremy, introduce yourself already.
Been doing pretty good this week, Jeff. The coach is very happy. I got my perfect card ever, first perfect card of the year. And with that said, Scholar Brian actually reached out to me the night of and actually gave me an option to do something different leading up to Night of Champions and Double or Nothing. So out of the three options he gave me, I decided to go with the simplest one, which I thought would be the best way, which is if I end up in a tie with anyone at the end of Double or Nothing, I get an automatic point. I get the automatic tiebreaker point, and I become Scholars Wrestling Champion, gentlemen. Let's do this. Night of Champions, Double or Nothing. I am gunning for that belt. But before we get there, we got a good week of wrestling to discuss so far, and with the one that gave me the perfect card, Backlash.
Oh, yes. And wow, was this a lively one. Kicking off the rest of the month of wrestling right. We've got WWE Backlash to review, coming at us from Puerto Rico, and what might just be one of the loudest crowds I have ever heard, let alone the year. Kicking right things off with Bianca Belair beating Io Sky, but I don't think I've ever seen a crowd this hot for Io Sky. I mean, I like Io just fine, but apparently not like Puerto Rico loves her.
Yeah, and that wasn't even the shocking bit for me. It was how much they didn't like Bianca Belair. I was like, okay, they're gonna do the everybody gets a pop deal. They're like, they haven't done a show in Puerto Rico in so long that everybody's got to get a pop coming out. Once Io Sky got the pop, and then it's like, no, they're booing Bianca Belair out of the building. What are we doing here? But then they came in and put on a show. That match was fantastic. Like that was not the match I expected to open the card at all. But after the show that they put on, it's the only thing I can think of opening the show now in hindsight. It's like you didn't think about it going in, but now afterwards it's like, yeah, this was the only way they could probably go with it based off of everything else that was on the card. The way that everything else panned out, this was the best way to open the show.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I wasn't even like, I was kind of hoping that I wasn't the only one that just was like, okay, I'm kind of now done with Bianca Belair's title reign, but apparently Puerto Rico is there with me.
Not by a long shot. There's a lot more of us than we thought, apparently.
Apparently so. But all in all, it was a very good opening match. It was a very good display of what EO can present, and hopefully someone, the WWE crowd that is in here in the States, can actually appreciate her too, other than what we had on Raw. That even though it was a great show, that crowd was not great. But when it came to the crowd of Puerto Rico, I think I haven't seen a crowd this much more invested in a show probably since Money in the Bank 2011, with CM Punk leaving with the title in Chicago.
Honestly, okay, out of everything I've ever watched, okay, including that show, which was the previous loudest I've ever heard it because of obvious reasons. Okay, I have never heard a crowd this sustained. Okay, it was the entire show.
Oh yeah,
It never it never peaked and valleyed. That show in Chicago, the peak was the CM Punk stuff. Everything else, okay, they weren't really invested. They were waiting for CM Punk at the end. This show, they were waiting for Bad Bunny, Zelina Vega, and Damian Priest, but they were loud for everybody. So it's like there was no die down. So the fact that it was that sustained for that long, I think that this is the best crowd I've ever heard.
Yeah, and just the bizarre. I'm sorry, Jay, continue.
After you, I got my thought.
No, I was just more in terms of the volume of the loudness, the enthusiasm, just for the kinds of names that we take for granted, that of talking about like Carlito, of Savio Vega, like everyone who is remotely LWO the entire night. They all came to play, and they came to play hard. Like, and Carlito, between this presentation, the pop for him, I don't think he's ever been this popular ever.
no,
I completely agree. Like I went back and watched it. Like I watched all the matches on YouTube, and that crowd was on fire. Like I agree, Brian. Like I have not heard a crowd cheer like that since probably the Attitude Era. Like not like a sustained like cheer like it. That was unbelievable. Everybody got a pop. Everybody was just getting into their matches, and it was. I'm not gonna lie, I crapped on the pay per view at the prediction, but it was a good show. It was a decent show, and it did a lot for me. I was very impressed.
Yeah, that was definitely a lot to like here. Yeah, continue.
To add on what Jeremy said, I think I was the one who was most vocal on where I thought this show was going to be, and actually like where it was going to go storyline wise. I was so glad to be proven wrong on that one. This one, when it came to just the main stories of the main events, whoo, it's nice to actually see the Bloodline storyline actually get back on track. At least the next chapter where they're going with this.
Yeah,
and where they're going just with Cody and Brock Lesnar. I mean, I think how that match ended up being, I guess we'll save like the match itself later, but just how that match ended up, it made perfect sense on where it led to on Raw.
Yeah, I think we're all just sort of like looking at everything just all at once when it comes to this show, because there was a lot, again, like we clearly established, there's so much to like. One thing that jumped out to me was just how Cody Rhodes technically won the match. It was just like a got him in position, and it was just like a quick got him. Like, for what they're doing now, if they need to actually buy time for Cody Rhodes until we get to WrestleMania season, they can have this big rematch with Roman Reigns. Any few days in is going to have to be extended and stretched out, so he's not just in a holding pattern. And this was way more satisfying of an ending to Cody and Brock than I expected, where it doesn't feel like he won, but he didn't beat him. He just survived. And that was very evidenced by the reaction we got from Brock on Monday Night Raw, where you just pissed off the bull and now he's coming back for blood.
Yeah, because when the match first happened, I can admit that I was like, okay, so Cody Rhodes was all set on getting his hands on Brock, on beating the crap out of Brock, and instead we get a little roll up and Cody Rhodes runs away. Is this really how is this really how this is going? And then I have never seen Brock that scary. Okay. I was just like the way that first of all, Brock busting himself open hard way on the turnbuckle like he did. Holy shit. Okay. And the fact that they used that image the night after on Raw to make him the scariest motherfucker I've ever seen. Okay, look, okay, I would be perfectly fine if they extended this out even further than the next show because I need Scary Brock to beat down Cody Rhodes. Okay, you can't have that dude just take it. You can't have that dude looking like that. do another Night of Champions. Okay.
Yeah, don't let that good bruising go to waste. It's too good.
It's like just have him be Angry Man Brock, have him beat the crap out of Cody at Night of Champions, and then have Cody Rhodes come back and get the decisive pinfall to end the 3-match feud, and then you can move on forward from there. But it's like, yeah, that Monday Night Raw, Brock Lesnar made that match for me because at the end of the night when that happened, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. The one thing I did not like, I think we can all agree on this. Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest should have ended the show.
Absolutely.
You can't follow that.
Agree.
Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline versus they didn't have a chance of at least the way everything ended. Okay, based on how the matches ended. Okay, that LWO stuff at the end of Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, that should have ended the show.
I'll tell you this, as much as I was actually more pleased than I thought I would be with the way this show ended, in terms of just the typical wrestling logic of some big fan pleasing moments just to send the crowd home happy. If that's indeed all we got, then yeah, you get a fair point. But for what we got, I thought the entire show was actually paced fairly perfectly. The only concern I would have with putting the Bad Bunny Damian Priest match on last would be that maybe by the end of the night, given the high energy levels of the entire crowd, they may have been a little too burned out by then to get like the whoa kind of reaction from Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. But we didn't get that, honestly, so yeah, I thought it was fine.
I honestly think that they might have been able to be louder if it was the main event. Like, I think that, how do I put this? I'm just saying by the way the matches ended. Okay, obviously you're not going to end with the Bloodline you're not going to end with the 6-man tag because that's storyline based. It's not going to hit. Okay, if Cody Rhodes got a decisive victory, not the roll up the way that he did and running away, and the last thing you see is angry Brock. Okay, if he got a decisive victory and he's celebrating in the ring, then I can see it. being the decisive main event. But when you have that crowd with that particular ending, with everything that went on in that match, and you have Carlito, Savio Vega, LWO, and Bad Bunny on their shoulders, okay, I would put that up there with the what was it? Even though we don't like to bring him up anymore, the Eddie Guerrero and the Chris Benoit with the streamers and everything coming down at the end of WrestleMania, that I would put that up there as one of the great all-time endings if they went with that.
That is a hard one for me to accept because I was actually there live for that one, but I
But
definitely see what you mean. Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm going for.
Yeah, I think we all do. But yeah, you're right. Top to bottom, no matter what you think, we still got one hell of a night of wrestling from this. So,
Oh, and Omos's
yeah,
best match that he's ever had.
I
It's
totally
Seth
forgot
Rollins.
about that. But yeah, there you
Seth
go.
Rollins can get a good match out of a cardboard box, so that's good. but top rope stomp, I like it.
So with all that being said, Backlash all considered, what would your final beard ratings be for Backlash 2023?
Easy, goat face. Easy.
Okay, Scholar Tarek, how about you?
I'm also going to give this show a goat face. I act like top to bottom. This was a very well put together show. And not all the matches were perfect. I mean, the triple threat for the United States Championship was just there. It ended exactly how we thought it was, with Austin Theory stealing a win, pinning Bronson Reed. Brian was right. Seth Rollins was able to get Omos's best match so far, probably ever. Because I don't know how it's come to the point where, oh, you're actually getting the booking done correct, the good storytelling book correctly. No one wants to see the wrong big beefy men hitting each other with the same fighting style. You want a David versus Goliath match, and they definitely put that on because it's just fun storytelling to see David climb on top of that turnbuckle and give him a super stomp to hell. The 6-man tag match I thought was just really great storytelling. It's now, as I was talking about last week on the prediction show, it was just repeat storytelling week to week. Now it's actually progressing. Now with the brand split with KO and Sami Zayn, even though they're drafted to Raw, they technically can go to SmackDown. I mean, they are the SmackDown Tag Team Champions after all, unless they want to break up those titles too. The only argument I have with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest not going on last is I felt it would have gone, like, it probably would have been how I pictured the show to be, as just a glorified house show for the Puerto Rican crowd. But I do agree, like, if it main evented, it would have been just even more perfect show. I loved everything about it. I liked there were good story beats in the Cody Rhodes Brock Lesnar match with the turnbuckle busting him open, and Cody doing 3 crossroads and just having Brock's blood all over him. And when I saw that, the first thing that immediately popped in my head was when Brock Lesnar did that to Hulk Hogan. And it's just the visual. Brock Lesnar has the immortal Hulk Hogan's blood smeared on his chest. It's now Cody Rhodes having the unstoppable beast Brock Lesnar, his blood on his chest. So it's like good mirror imaging of that. At least that's how I saw it in my end. And him basically using Brock's momentum really against him. Brock was going into this so confident, he was just toying with him. Now that Cody Rhodes hurt him both physically and mentally, yeah, it's now a completely scarier Brock Lesnar. And now I'm really pumped on this storyline keep going. And that's what I want in a wrestling show. I want to see the next now I want to see where it goes from here. And from what I saw, I absolutely loved it, and I loved the event. So yeah, go face.
I'll be honest, this was a really, really damn good show, but I feel like I can't quantify it in the same way. Like, I feel like there's something, not that there was something wrong with the show, but there was something just missing. But it was still a very, very strong show. So I'm gonna give this a full beard, but a very, very high full beard, like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There's just something that was just missing to put it just over the top. I can't really, maybe I'll be able to quantify what exactly that is maybe a couple weeks from now after I have more time to digest this show, but still,
Zelina Vega
top to
didn't
bottom,
cosplay as anyone other than the Puerto Rican flag. He wanted
that's
us.
it. Immersion ruined.
He wanted
4.5. You lost half a point,
Who wanted
Zelina Vega.
a nice cosplay for Zelina Vega, not the flag.
There you go. It didn't take me 2 weeks. 4.5 high full beard. Jay, take us home. What's your beard rating for this one?
I gotta give it a go face because it really did surprise me on how good it was after going back and rewatching it. It was a very high caliber pay-per-view, I thought, just from beginning to end. Just the crowd is what really, really turned me. The fact that they were like hyped up all night and there was no lull in between any match. So for me, it was just very surprising. And the fact that we have Nightmare Fuel Brock Lesnar back. Okay, now you have my full interest again.
Oh yeah, great show from top to bottom, and like everyone is saying, leading into Monday Night Raw, a couple nights later, we had a lot to chew on, like Nightmare Mode Brock Lesnar, and we also got the first half of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship title tournament, and it looks like everyone pretty much called it. We've got Seth Rollins going on to advance to whoever ends up winning the SmackDown side of the tournament.
And with what showed up on Twitter today, I'm fairly certain of who I think is going to be on the SmackDown side. But yeah, I'm not as high on what happened in the title tournament as other people on this panel may be. I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable. It advanced stories outside of the title tournament, as evidenced by I don't want to look at that Brock Lesnar. He keeps telling me to look at him. I don't want to. and the fact that cost Cody Rhodes the opportunity to finish that match. We got Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor, which was a very enjoyable match itself, and very good to the callbacks to the what was it, the Universal title match that that Finn Balor won, but Seth Rollins screwed up. He screwed up taking a Seth Rollins powerbomb and destroyed his shoulder. So the turnaround on that was fun.
And really, when it comes
but it's
to
also hard. It's hard going. It's enjoyable, but when you know who's gonna win, it's enjoyable. I had a good time. It was fun to watch. But also you knew Seth Rollins was going to win the whole time. And I'm happy that he did. I'm happy that we're probably getting him to be the new world heavyweight champion because let's face it. Okay, they put SmackDown guys in this, which that's rough to understand because it took them 4 days to basically just, okay, yeah, we're going to do a brand split, but we got a new title. Let's throw everybody in. That's not how it works.
To be fair, I actually do like the idea of what I understand like their explanation for why they're putting this to go against the like the playoffs for the NHL and all that. And I'm trying to look at it through a storyline perspective. Yes, the SmackDown guys going for the Raw title, but I do like I like the idea of you want minus the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champ, whatever. You want the best of what WWE has to offer to go fight for this brand new world title. So just having the best of both worlds fighting each other and then just fighting the best of those brands going for that top title. So I get both like a professional aspect and just a storyline telling aspect of it. And it actually it's my attempt to actually add prestige to this brand new title that they're introducing.
But I will say this, based on what came on Twitter today by Edge, okay, basically saying, I'm going for this world heavyweight title because it's the one thing I haven't done yet. I'm gonna win this tournament, and when I lose, I'm done. Like that was his battle call. So I'm like, okay. Now it's like now we have storyline stakes. We have Seth Rollins who wants it because he's been held down in these feuds for so long. He thinks he's a better wrestler than everybody on the roster, and he should be fighting Roman Reigns. But instead he's going after this world heavyweight title. And you've got Edge who's looking for one last go in the sun. So what I think is going to happen, we're getting Seth Rollins versus Edge at Night of Champions. And that at least makes this whole thing somewhat intriguing to me. Okay, because you now have storyline stakes on the SmackDown side going into Raw, which is
and I
why
didn't know about that
like,
post. So now adding even more to that. So yeah, it's adding more to this tournament than initially planned and initially thought of on our end.
Into it.
There you go. And that's what the WWE should be doing is trying to find ways to get us invested. And luckily there is someone who is in charge, who is like 80%, that's being generous, probably even 70% running creative. I'll go with 80.
Just give me this. 1 year ago, if we were holding this tournament 1 year ago, okay, we wouldn't have gotten an explanation as to why SmackDown is involved in a Raw title tournament. We wouldn't have gotten any storyline. We wouldn't have gotten any storyline going into it from the SmackDown side. We would just be expected to go with the fact that, hey, SmackDown wrestlers are going for a Raw title. But now we have storyline stakes on the SmackDown side. We have reasoning going in as to why SmackDown SmackDown wrestlers are taking part in this tournament. So it's like, yeah, I'm willing to go with it.
And at least the winner, if a SmackDown guy does win it, they're just going to Raw. So it's like, oh yeah, your draft sucks for the whoever the hell was in charge of the draft. Who the fuck knows? It's
And
like,
it does put in doubt if Edge is in the title match, because it's like, do they go with Seth Rollins, or do they go with Edge and do that storyline where when he loses the title he retires? So it's like you
And
have doubt.
yeah, I've got even more doubts than that to go with Edge. You do make a compelling case, you guys, but there's a couple things that sort of throw me off in putting everything I've got and putting it all on Edge. The first one being what you mentioned, that they may be adhering to strictly keeping it on Monday Night Raw and may end up going to a Raw guy, at least initially. The second one being, when I first heard this musing, this thought from Edge at the time, it seemed like, okay, if this happens, this is one thing I would like to do. It's not something like I must do it right now. But even if that is what was meant by it, I have a real hard time getting behind it right now. If this happened maybe at least a minimum a few months down the line, I'd be able to believe it. But I feel like the retirement of Edge and Edge's final match, I feel like this would have to be either maybe SummerSlam at the earliest, but outside of that, it has to be one of the major pay-per-views that they do. Royal Rumble, if not a WrestleMania featured match. So I feel like this is absolutely in the cards at some point. I just am not 100% convinced that it's going to be now. Does this make sense?
Yeah,
You got some points. I agree. That's all I
yeah,
want to say.
I still think he makes the final, but the only way they go through with the retirement storyline is if he wins in the final, and I'm like 95% convinced that it's going to be Seth Rollins. So
I go with the.
like.
I
Yeah.
believe in the retirement angle if they put it on TV. If they make it a thing on actual TV and not just him posting about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's more of a side comment as opposed to an actual featured angle on TV. Yeah, definitely makes sense. Well, all that being said, we're just gonna have to keep watching WWE, and especially this weekend's SmackDown, to see how it all plays out. But meanwhile, AEW is also playing out some good stuff on Dynamite to also keep their ratings aloft during this time, and including some new returning faces that we haven't seen in a while, including Thunder Rosa and Miro, who we haven't seen in a while, both walking into Tony Khan's office at various points of the night. Jay, I know that you are a big time enthusiast for Miro and have been for some time. Were you as shocked by this return as I was?
This Dynamite was on fire. It was really good. All I can say is just I remember it starts up and I'm like, all right, who's walking in? And I'm just like, what? So I do have my theories on that, but with Thunder Rosa coming back, wow, that was a game changer. That's one I did not see coming at all. Um, wow, this Dynamite had so many good matches. Like you had Julia Hart versus Anna JAS. That was a great match to show the women's strength in street fights. You had the House of Black House Rules. Love that match. That was a great one for the night. Um, oh my God, Omega and Moxley just tore it down. They straight up tore it down in that cage match. That was a match that's right now is one of my top contenders for match of the year. They did so well with Dynamite. I think they're firing on all cylinders. And just going back to Miro, I've heard some theories of going around that they might team up Miro and Claudio to take on Ray Phoenix and Penta for the the Ring of Honor World Tag Titles. That's a rumor I've heard started yesterday,
Ooh.
but we'll just have to see what happens. Come on, those guys have known each other for years. That'd be a great addition to the Blackpool Combat Club. But oh my god, like all I can say is just that cage match was insane. Oh my god, I thought Kenny broke his leg when he went to the cage. I thought he broke it. But here's what I was alluding to before we got on to the record tonight. The timing of Don Callis with the betrayal was, you cannot make up that timing. If you back and watch it, that timing was so spot on. The hand was coming down, and so does the screwdriver. You cannot plan timing like that. You can botch it, but you cannot plan it to a T. That was how you really swerve a match at the end.
I'll tell you what,
Oh
I
man.
even mentioned it before we started recording tonight. To be a fly on the wall of your house that night. Oh, with a Kenny Omega super fan in attendance, like, oh boy, I can only imagine the reaction.
Oh, I was yelling, my wife was yelling, and like I said earlier, this got thrown behind the couch, so I had to dig this out of the couch. But it was just like 1, 2, and I'm like, what? No, you piece of shit. Oh my god. Like, but they're doing the storyline well, because Blackpool Combat Club saying is forged in combat, born in blood. And Don Callis got his head split off, so boom, there's your first big turn for him. For me, if you want to make this story really hot, you have Don Callis join the Blackpool Combat Club, and you bring William Regal back to join the Elite. There we go. Daddy comes home and whoops some ass. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and that would be something if William Regal wasn't big up on NXT right now. He's not coming back. But as for Miro and Thunder Rosa, okay, from what I've heard, all of that was the beginning of the setup to the announcement of AEW Collision, the show that's going to be on Saturdays that CM Punk is going to head. That so they're probably going to be based on that show, and that was the beginning of the build-up, because you have I expect to see Andrade in the next little bit. I expect to see a bunch of people who have been out with injuries and other stuff. I expect to see them in the build-up to the announcement of AEW Collision, which will probably be next week. That's probably the big announcement.
Oh, it's most likely
Yeah.
it's going to be.
No surprises there.
But going off, yeah, Anna Jay versus Julia Hart. Anna Jay is like the women's version at this point of Jon Moxley, just loving those street fights and death matches. She's been in all of them, other than the Britt Baker Thunder Rosa ones. But like, that was great. I think I like the idea of the House of Black. I like the idea of what they're doing. I thought the match was a little bit short, but it was good while it was on. Orange Cat, I like what they're doing with Orange Cassidy, and the way that his Superman punch doesn't work the way that it used to, because he hurt the fist. So he's just more and more desperate every match to get that roll up pin, and it's harder and harder every time. And as evidenced in the backstage promo afterwards, he's getting tired. So I think we're in the process of seeing the downfall of Orange Cassidy. But in the lead up to it, I like the storytelling. I like the this is what I can say about Dynamite. The long-term storytelling that they have going on here is masterful. Okay, I like the promo packages that they did with the 4 pillars. I like how they did that. I like what they're doing with Orange Cassidy. Anytime you put Moxley and Omega in a ring together. Okay. Other than the ending to the match that nobody speaks of, even though the match itself was great. Every time you put them in the ring together, magic happens. And it is that bastion of time where it's like when all else fails, put Mox and Omega back in the ring together. Okay.
It's old
And
reliable.
just like this entire show from top to bottom. Okay, I didn't see any flaws. I had no issues with any of it.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah,
best
another
Dynamite
solid
spin in
show in a
weeks.
week of solid shows. Definitely.
I will actually. I think this was Dynamite. This was the best episode of Dynamite this year, hands
Easy.
down. Just I. Who did you say was Claudio going to pick for his tag team partner? You think did they announce that, or did you just are assuming?
It's a rumor that's going around online. I heard it. Everyone's
Oh,
reading up on it.
I think he's going to stick.
No wonder you got a Bale smile on your face right now, Tarek.
Oh no, I'm actually not even thinking that. When I first heard this stipulation, I thought we were going to go very old school, and Claudio Castagnoli is going to bring Chris Hero in and bring Kings of Wrestling back to Ring of Honor.
Ooh, that'd be a bit of a cut.
Deep cuts.
I know, but it's just like, wouldn't that be a nice little like, hey, I know this. I'm being Leonardo DiCaprio right now. Ooh.
Especially since we're talking about Claudio. Hey.
I'm fairly certain he's going to keep it in the Blackpool Combat
Most
Club,
likely.
and it's going to be Yuta, because
Most
they've
likely.
been teaming up on ROH TV. But I think they're going to keep that simple. But hey, intriguing. Miro's back on TV, so what's the plan for him?
Miro back on TV.
And did you
Garcia
hear who CM Punk wants his first opponent to be?
Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe. I would love that.
Imagine. Yeah, with Daniel Garcia and Orange Cassidy, that was my match of the night for me.
Really good.
Because it's just continuing his great international title, making that title really, really important. The four pillar stuff, I'm kind of losing. It's kind of losing my interest, really. At least I wouldn't say losing my interest. I just think it's the weakest story for me of just everything that's going on. It's obviously the Elite and Blackpool Combat Club is the real main event storyline in AEW right now, and honestly, it should. All these names involved in the storyline, and now you have the twist of Don Callis. I'm not fully convinced that he's actually joining Blackpool Combat Club. It's just more, it's not really joining them, it's just trying to use their words, to use their like philosophy to bring out the best in your being out the best in you. And he's just trying to use their philosophy to help Kenny Omega become the best he can be.
Yeah, so I'm not convinced of that at all.
If anything, I could just be like, we're not joining together, but we do like a business deal. It's like, now I put my part in it. You have done your part. Thank you. Our business is done kind of ordeal. I don't see this as like a team up kind of business deal.
Yeah, it wasn't about him joining the Blackpool Combat Club. It was about him turning on Kenny.
Exactly.
I think that because I think at Forbidden Door they're going to do Omega versus Ospreay. So I think he's gonna bring in Ospreay.
Didn't he hint on his Twitter, like his Twitter handle or something, or he's just pulling up Will Ospreay references like bruv?
Yeah.
So it looks like that's where they're going with.
Yeah, he's been trying to poach Osprey for a while. That story's been going on since like last year with him like eyeing Osprey. Also, if he's gonna do that, he may probably bring Takeshita in as his own little new crony. I'm just watching what Callis is doing. So, but I was talking to my wife about this, and she asked me, "How would you want to do Blackpool Combat Club?" I'm like, honestly, I would say a Blackpool Combat versus Elite. My thing is, and this is just personal opinion, I think you should add two more members to Blackpool Combat Club to make them really strong, and then um, you get Kyle O'Reilly back, and then you bring in Cole and Strong and make it Undisputed Elite against Blackpool Combat Club. That's
Well,
what
it
I
seems
want
like
to see.
they're more going keeping Cole away from this storyline. It looks like it's just gonna be
They're gonna bring Hangman
Hangman
in.
Adam Page, since
I thought it'd
he's
be a
the
cool
one.
story. So
Oh yeah, it would be. I would love to see the Adam Cole and Roderick
Yeah,
Strong and Kyle O'Reilly whenever he can come back, because
yeah,
he's still injured, right?
he's still in rough shape. So because he's
Yeah.
had that major neck
because it's
injury.
like
So
you can just go simple and do Hangman Page, but you can also go out of bounds and bring back the NJPW and bring in Kota Ibushi.
that's what everybody wants. That's what absolutely what everybody wants is the Golden Lovers to come back. That's what
Yeah,
everybody wants.
and hell, if you want to go full out with it, okay, you have Takeshita turn and join the Blackpool Combat Club because Brian Danielson brought him in, and you can play that storyline with it. You forged in blood. We made you bleed. You're one of us now. And then you can bring both Hangman Page and Kota Ibushi in, and there's your big Wembley Stadium match.
5-on-5. There you go. I like it. I like it, Brian. That is awesome.
You know, I got to admit, I didn't buy into the whole Kota Ibushi thing because he's like notoriously like not wanting to spend too much time in any one place, minus New Japan for most of his career. But now that the Wembley thing is on the horizon, I actually kind of believe it. That could be definitely be the kind of thing that Kota Ibushi could absolutely buy into, and that Tony Khan would be able to put up the check that that Kota is looking for.
Because it's also like he's not in NJPW anymore, so that's not holding him back from doing it. He's said repeatedly he wants to wrestle in AEW, so why not put him in the middle of the hottest storyline in the entire company?
Makes perfect sense.
And it's like and him and Kenny have had a storyline for the ages since NJPW. Just add another AEW chapter, especially with what he said, with what Kenny said after the show.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't trust family, who can you trust? Well,
Exactly.
that's it.
True. True. Good
Okay.
catch.
Yeah, I think you definitely sold me on this angle that not only is it going to be good, but that's actually going to be happening. So yeah, lots of really exciting things happening all across the board. But you've seen this week in wrestling. I've seen this week of wrestling. We've all seen it. Now is the time in our show where we're pitching it over to you, our fellow fans. What did you think of this week in wrestling? Which was the better show? Backlash, Dynamite? How loud do you want your crowds to get? No matter what you think, we want to hear from you. So drop us a line all across the internet. Facebook posts, YouTube comments, our personal favorite, the Twitter machines, wherever you are, let us know. And if you want to join the conversation on Twitter, you can follow us at our own personal Twitter accounts. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me at the Avataric.
Brian, where can they reach you, and what the heck fell?
You can reach me knocking over lamps. at Atomic Beanpole.
And Jeremy, where can they reach you?
And me still smiling about my perfect card at Hero Huri 316.
And you can find me at I'm Robbie Rage. And for all of these social media links and more, check us out in the description below. That just find our Linktree page. That's Linktree/Scholars of Wrestling for everything Scholars of Wrestling related and more. But for now, that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're all looking forward to this weekend, the next SmackDown, the next Monday Night Raw, everything AEW related, because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
See you all for another action-packed week.